All right. Sorry for that little tech issues that we had here, but welcome back to episode number 36, which is all about walking away and is not walking away is not running away. Welcome to Life.EV, a podcast that dives into exploring values. I'm your host, Ajit Panicker, and lead an air conditioning company, Nova and Pure Blue, a tech startup in the air conditioning domain. Every Saturday at 11 a.m., join us for conversations that go beyond business growth, focusing on the values that fuel it. Let's embark on a journey to uncover our true purpose and how we can grow by enriching our lives. Welcome to Life.EV, where we explore values in life and business. And as always, I have with me Vivek Asrani. Hi, Vivek. How are you doing?
Hi, morning Ajit. How are you doing?
Absolutely good. To our viewers, Vivek Asrani is the driving force behind Camo Fastener Company, a trailblazing company in the industrial fastener sector. What sets Vivek apart is his deep engagement with the exploration of values. It's been now close to over 4 years. He has dedicatedly penned his reflections on this topic every week. These insightful thoughts are accessible on his website, vivekasrani.com. Additionally, Vivek has authored the book One Day at a Time, Reflections from Times of Silence, which further delves into his journey and insights. This thought provoking read is available on Amazon and also on his website, offering readers a chance to engage with his profound understanding of values and their role in both personal and professional lives. As explained, today's episode on Life.EV, our topic is walking away is not running away. Vivek, let's hear your reflections on this.
So, Ajit, when we walk away from a situation, it is a deliberate decision that we have made after evaluating it and coming to the conclusion that the right thing for us is to move away. I think it's important to differentiate between walking away and running away. When we are overwhelmed with a situation, when we are gripped with fear, when we lose our confidence, when we lose our composure, and we throw in the towel and say, listen, I can't do this, and you run away from a situation, that's very different from deliberately saying that, listen, having thought about this, I think the right thing for me to do is to walk away. Very often we stay in a situation because our ego and our pride prevents us from moving on. Sometimes we're confused and we don't know whether we should be in it or not. Sometimes we can't really read our own mind to know whether there is a certain amount of fear and anxiety that's building up, and that's natural and it's okay, and let me just stick with it, uh, or should I actually be just getting out of this situation because I can't handle this anymore. So I think the reflection which I had penned down on this one, Ajit, and I will talk about this in this episode, came from a personal experience which taught me a lot. So, what are the situations in which we typically would like to walk away? And I think there were seven situations that I spoke about. One is when we are in a bad relationship, and after best efforts, when we find that this relationship is really becoming toxic, is not the right relationship for us, it would be time for us to walk away. Second is when there are people in our lives who constantly break promises they make to us. And we all know that the most valuable currency in the world today is trust. And any relationship, whether it be husband, wife, friends, customer, supplier, government, and society, any relationship, Ajit, is really built on the foundation of trust. When trust is broken, the relationship, to my mind, is broken. So people who constantly break promises, they may be very sweet, very nice, very friendly, but I think it's time for us to walk away because the foundation is getting broken. Third is, very often we come across people in our life who don't think win-win. They think win-win when it's very convenient for them, but most of the time they are looking out for what's in it for them and what is the right answer for them. And we find ourselves in a situation where we're either at the receiving end, or we are the ones who are always compromising and giving in to whatever the other person wants. And it becomes a burden, it becomes a pressure. We start living with that burden and pressure. And I think that's the time when we need to walk away. The fourth is we need to walk away from temptation. I think all of us know that from personal experience. Extremely difficult, because very often the mind gets the better of us. But recognizing that walking away from temptation in the short term to create long term value is the right thing for us to do. We need to walk away from violence, and I think that's stating the obvious in terms of the physical violence. But in my reflection, I have spoken about walking away from the inner violence we feel, of anger, hatred, rage. Najit, as you go on in life, you start dealing with larger situations, uh, more complex situations in terms of relationships, and a lot of anger and rage and hatred gets sometimes accumulated and built within. If we allow that to remain in the system, it's like an acid that eats the container that holds it. So our own anger and rage is going to eat us from inside. So we need to walk away from that. The sixth is when we reach a point and we recognize and realize that we are no longer needed or wanted in a situation, much as we may want to be part of it, there is a certain amount of self-respect we need to also maintain, and we need to walk away. And the seventh uh, area of discussion I'd had earlier also, and written in my reflection, is sometimes we need to give people their space, and we do it because we love them, not because we're angry with them, and we walk away giving people space. So that's really what drives us to walk away. But what's equally important, Ajit, is not what we are walking away from, but then also being clear in our mind, what are we walking towards? And if I'm walking away from a particular relationship or a particular situation or a particular transaction, it's because I'm walking towards something which I believe is better for me in my life. So I think this perspective, and I can only say that personally, it's helped me a lot.
Amazing. But this also brings to me a thought as how can walking away be seen as an expression of self-respect or self-love? You know, what value do you believe is most important when you decide to take that such a decision?
I think when you're deciding to walk away, you're looking at three things in my mind. One is you're looking at your own position and what you are going through and the reason you're walking away. Second is you're looking at the other person, and that's where a lot of love and empathy comes in, even in a difficult situation, to see what is the right answer for that person and what does that person need at this point of time. So, one is what do I need at this point of time? Second is what does that person need? And the third is looking at the transaction and evaluating it very objectively to say, listen, are things working out or not? And if they're really not working out, then maybe the right thing for us to do is to gracefully walk away rather than it erupting into something which is, a lot of emotional baggage comes out and it becomes nasty and unpleasant. So, evaluating three things: your own position, the other person's needs and position, and whether the transaction is working out. Uh, and that's what I do every time I have to make a difficult decision. And I'll tell you, Ajit, it's not easy. It's not easy, especially when you're a relationship driven person, when you care for people. Uh, I mean, our relationships are not clinical, right? We're not objects where you can walk away from one phone and get another phone, or one computer to the other. I mean, you're invested in relationships, there are feelings. It's very difficult, which is why I have started off by saying that it is very important to differentiate between walking away deliberately because that's in the best interest, and running away because we are scared and overawed of the situation, or acting out of ego where we're not walking away but we are in a huff getting out of it because we've been hurt and we haven't really evaluated the other person and the transaction.
Awesome. Have you ever faced a moral dilemma while walking away? I mean, any situation that you can share that it seemed like the best option, but then it's actually internally you really want to do something else, but you said this seems to be the best option. And how do you reconcile with that situation?
Yeah, so I think and it was very unexpected, by the way. It was one of the most difficult decisions I had to take. So I had been part of helping an organization for, it had been more than 15 years. I'd been on the board and had a fantastic uh, association. And honestly, in my mind, I really thought this is going to be a lifelong association. Uh, and as the organization was growing and moving to the next level, there was a need for internal changes as well. And as the board, uh, and as a board member, I started pushing, the team in a particular direction, and maybe I could have done it a little more delicately in hindsight. Yes, but the intent was always out of pure love for the team and the organization. That's saying, guys, now that we're here, next journey, this is what it's going to probably look like because I've seen this in other organizations. And there was a bit of a pushback initially, and but I realized that it's the right thing. When you're coaching, mentoring somebody, you can't just let go, because then you're not bringing out the best and you're not showing the person, and that's the role of the board member in any case, right? To throw light on what the future could potentially look like and what needs to be done. And suddenly the pushback became extremely sharp, and it reached a point where I realized that it was becoming very unhealthy for the other person, was becoming very unhealthy for me, and it was absolutely not the right thing for the organization. So before it kind of escalated into anything bigger, I put in my resignation and I said, listen, I think the right thing for me to do would be to just step aside and give the team the space. Not to say who was right or wrong. It was just, I just felt that was the right thing for me to do at that point of time. There was a huge discussion post that, where it's like, no, no, you can't leave. We've been around for so many years, and and I said, look, I'm not. I'm still going to be around for any advice or help you may need. But I think the right thing for me to do would be to not walk away from the cause, but to just kind of step aside and give them space. That was not easy, because at one level one has invested in the relationship, one cares a lot, one can also see some of the mistakes I had probably made along the way, and maybe I could have handled it a little differently. uh, it would have been easy to hang in there and fight it out if I really felt strongly. But it was a dilemma, because after 15 years it's not an easy decision.
In business, we always come across these situations where you tend to walk away from things because of you want to stay true to your values. But these decisions sometimes impact your team. They don't kind of subscribe to what you're doing. How do you end up handling that situation? I mean, how do you stay true to your values in these moments and also make sure the team kind of understands it? Now, the team need not be just subordinates. These team could be equals. Uh, how does one go through this whole dilemma?
I mean, that's a great question. And let me share with you what happened in my career very early on. We had started this new division, and I'd shared with you in the earlier podcast that with a 50,000 rupee capital. I had to restart the business in '96, and struggling for business. I'd already met about 300-400 potential dealers. Wasn't able to set up a single dealer in India, but we were getting business from end users, slow and steady. But we were hungry and desperate for business. We were a team of three people at that time, and we were negotiating an order, which was equal to our turnover. One of the most corrupt purchase departments I've ever come across. Private sector, not government. And I walked away from that order. And that order could have potentially doubled our business overnight. And we were one of two companies who could have supplied those very special tools that they needed. And I walked away because I was anchoring myself on the principle that we will not corrupt purchase officers to buy business. I could have anchored myself to profit. I could have anchored myself to, I need to do whatever it takes. I could have anchored myself to justifying that, listen, I am just starting out. I don't have the strength and muscle to fight uh, the world with principles. Let me become stronger. Then I will adopt certain principles when I can afford to uh, work in a particular way. But I said no. If I truly believe that it's the right answer, then I need to do it when I am the most vulnerable. And
Yeah.
we walked away, and I spoke to the team. Of course, it was a much easier conversation because it was a smaller team. I said, we're not doing this. We're not doing this because we've said we won't do it. But having said that, and this goes back to what I said earlier, Ajit, it's not what you're walking away from, it's what you're walking to. And I said, we're walking away from a corrupt transaction. But what we are walking towards is, can we build a stronger product portfolio? Can we build a stronger after sales service? Can we find 95 good, clean, healthy customers for every five corrupt customers that come our way? Can we find a level of innovation and creativity and dynamism which still makes us market leaders in spite of handcuffing ourselves by not bribing, by not doing cash transactions, by not under invoicing, by not cutting corners, by not taking the easy paths? So when I showed the team the larger, more inspiring, and definitely a more difficult picture, I think there was an immediate buy-in, because obviously, if I give you a choice to say, listen, you can build something world class, or you can pay a bribe and get the order, you'll say, of course, I want to build something world class. I mean, that's what excites us as human beings, right? To express our creativity and uh, give our best. So, two things in this, I'll just sum up with, Ajit. One was, I was anchored, and then you asked this question earlier, anchoring to principles when you walk away. You can only walk away when you anchor to a principle. If you're not anchored to a principle, you will not walk away. You will run away. Or you will just stay in a difficult relationship or situation and not have the courage or the clarity to walk away. So, one is, you can only do that when you're anchored to certain principles. And second is to have the clarity, or at least the inspiration, that what am I walking towards? If I'm walking away from this, then I'm walking towards something. When we walk away from bad health, we walk towards an exercise routine and changing our lifestyle and diet and saying, listen, I want to look good, I want to feel good, and that's what inspires us, right? Uh, that's the only thing. So it's only when you hold on to a higher can you drop the lower. So it's only when you hold on to something aspirational, which you're walking towards, is when you can walk away from something that's toxic.
Amazing. This also brings to this thought process. In when you're doing in business, the purpose is more powerful than the profit. That doesn't mean profit is not important, but profit is more about the yardstick that measures. It just quantifies your performance. But the purpose is the bigger driving force to achieve greater things. And I think
Yeah.
that's the big takeaway that I also get from what you're saying. That it's that purpose which is very powerful. Awesome. That was a great discussion, Vivek. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
As
Ajit.
usual, every week. To all our viewers, I encourage you not to keep these ideas to yourself. Share this episode with your friends, colleagues, and family. Ask them, what do you think? Spark a conversation and see where it leads. And we'd love to hear from you. Join the dialogue on our social media platforms. Share your questions, your learnings, and the insights you gain from this episode. It's through these shared experiences and perspectives that we all grow and learn. So don't hesitate to reach out and contribute to these ongoing conversations. Your voice matters in shaping a more ethically driven business world. Well, that's it what we have for today. And join us next week for another enriching episode of Life.EV, where we continue our exploration into the fascinating world of exploring values in our life. Vivek, thank you very much for all these valuable contributions you make every week. We're
My
looking
pleasure.
forward to diving deeper into these critical discussions in our next session. So see you next week, Saturday at 11 a.m. And a reminder to all our viewers, reach out to your friends, get a conversation going on life exploring values. Thank you very much and see you next week. Bye,
Bye.
Vivek.